Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sume McPhail. I am the founder and CEO of WEquil School, a project-based, self-directed virtual learning platform. Our students present their projects every Saturday at 2 p.m. For more information, please go to wequil.school. This week's demo day is on app building, and we have our guest speaker, Nathan Denherter, joining us today. First, Isla is going to be presenting her activities page.
Thank you, Sume. Hello, my name is Isla and I am 9 years old. Today, I will be presenting an activities page that I made with a coding language called Flutter. The first activities in the activities page is the art museum. In my point of view, this art museum is the best activity that I have made so far. The art museum activity, it shows you all the different, some of the most famous paintings and statues in the world. This is where you can learn about all the famous, some of the most famous paintings. Also, there is a quiz to test your knowledge on what you have learned about the paintings. This is where you can learn about some of the famous statues. And there's also a statues quiz where you can test your knowledge on what you have learned. The next activity is a Tic Tac Toe Game. My sister built this simple game in Flutter, which I think is really cool. When you fill out some of the boxes, you can reset the game, and once you filled out all the boxes, it will show you at the bottom whether who won and if it was a tie. The last activity I've made is named How to Draw a Picture. This shows you the steps. All the steps you need to make a simple picture using color. The reason why I wanted to make this activities page is because I want is so people can do even more things on the WEquil School app. For conclusion, I really enjoyed making this activities page because it was something I wanted to do. And it was my project, my idea, and I got to make it. Thank you.
Awesome. Now Benjamin is going to be presenting his boot camp that he made on talking about your favorite activity.
Hi, my name is Benjamin, and I will be presenting my boot camp about talking about my favorite activity. My code would not run, so I will just talk about it without showing you. So basically it says it will ask you what your favorite activity is, then it will ask you what you like about it, and then and then you'll answer 2 boxes about what you like about it, and then what you recommend about it, and finally, what you don't like about it. And so then you can press save, and it will save. And I did this because I thought making a boot camp seemed like fun, and I wanted to and I realized that there wasn't something about your favorite activity, so I put that in to the boot camp.
Awesome. So now Anya is going to be presenting her app on a made-up restaurant she made.
Thank you, Sume. So I made this Sushi App, where the first thing you see is a sign up page. You can sign up using hi123, and the password can also be hi123. And then once you press sign up, you can go into login and log in using the same information you used in the sign up section. And it should take you to this kitchen. If you press this, you can press log out, and you can also go to the menu, and you can see all the items along with the calories and the price. If you log out and put in the wrong information, using like hi1234 and hi1234 as the password, it won't let you log in. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anya, for presenting. The last thing that we'll be showing is some of the Flutter videos up on the WEquil School YouTube channel. So if you go to the WEquil School YouTube channel, there are 2 Flutter playlists that I've made. One is on Flutter tutorials, and this first one is Flutter Basics, where I lay out all of the basics that you need to know in Flutter to make a simple app. Anya used this in her Sushi app, and for her login and sign up page, use the basic database with Flutter video also in this Flutter tutorials playlist. This playlist holds longer videos that go more into detail about how to make apps and coding full apps. The second playlist I have on the WEquil School YouTube channel is Flutter Widgets, which are simple, short, 10 to 15 minute videos on different Flutter widgets. And for those of you who don't know, widgets are like objects in Flutter. So a text is a widget, a button, an app bar, and so on. And so this playlist is mainly for people who watch it to know more about what you can do in Flutter and the possibilities of Flutter that they might want to implement into their apps. And so you can check those out at the WEquil School YouTube channel. Now, do we want to have, we're now going to have Nate Denherter, who is our guest speaker, talk a little bit about who he is and how he's been using Flutter.
But before he does, I'm going to give an introduction because he's a longtime friend of mine, and I want to make him look good. Hey, Nate, how's it going? So I've known Nate Denherter for about a decade now, and about 4 years ago, he came over to our house and showed us an app that he was building in Flutter. I didn't know it was called Flutter at the time. And he was like, "Hey, I'm building this app. I'm going to help revolutionize the mortgage industry by automating a lot of the application process." And at first I thought that was a horrible idea because I love paperwork. But he convinced me that it actually, no, Joe, most people don't like filling out dozens of forms. And so I was okay, all right, I kind of get the idea. So anyway, we ended up investing in his company, and he basically just taking Flutter code that he wrote, launched this company. And initially it was a $3 million company, and now I think he seems to keep doing better and better. More and more people want to use his app. so I think that's a good sign. But I wanted to have him on here for a couple reasons. One is that I wanted to give him an opportunity to talk about what he's doing, but then also to allow him to share with our students some things about his experience as a programmer and an entrepreneur, and how they can use their knowledge of software to take their ideas and make them a reality. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Nate, who we're very privileged to have. and allow him to share his thoughts. So,
Hi, Joe. Well, thanks so much for having me. I have to start by saying this was incredibly impressive. Um, I was trying to think of what I was doing when I was 9 years old. It wasn't anything like this, and so it's it's great fun to see so many really awesome examples of apps that kids are building. You know, maybe I want to do some hiring out of the group of kids that we saw here today. I thought all those examples were really excellent, and I just couldn't be happier to see uh, the running code, people working on writing code and trying to make their ideas come to life. I don't know, that was thrilling. I thought that was really great, and congratulations to
yay!
you. And I don't know. I mean, I was just blown away. So yeah. Anyway, Joe, I want to pause there for a second. And did you have a question for me, or you wanted me to just sort of talk about my company?
I think that one thing that might be interesting to share a bit about is, you know, why you got into programming and development. Of course, the students that we have, they do a lot of things. So, like, we're gonna have our comedy demo day next week, and that's gonna be cool. And last week we did, what did we do last week? Personalities. Personality types?
I think it was music.
Oh, music.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, the
yeah.
one from last week was amazing. They were so we do a lot of things, but this core group, and not everybody's here. I'd say like half the core group that of developers are not here because they're still working on the thing. They're like, no, it's not ready yet. Oh, I'll do the next one, right? So you said that maybe you have somebody that can join next time that actually helped to build Flutter from Google, which would be awesome.
Yeah, that's true. I think he'd be very impressed with this also.
So when we set up for that, we'll try to get everybody there. But this core group meets every morning at 8:30, and just most of it's self-directed, but Sumi just remotes in and helps people debug code. And then Isla recently started also teaching. So kids teaching kids and mentoring each other is a big part of what we're doing. But they just get up and do this every day. Nobody makes them do it. It's thrilling to watch. So yeah, feel free to share thoughts on any of that, like why you got into coding, developing, things that you would want somebody to have told you if you were starting to do this at 10, 11,
Sure.
12.
Yeah. Well, I started much later than some of this is so wonderful to see, because I didn't really start coding very seriously until college, because I studied computer science in college, and also I have a master's degree in that too. And so I got very interested in it through school, and then I kept doing it because I think what's really interesting about writing code is that you can create a model of something in the world, and then you can try to make it work better just by changing the code. So I think that's a really fascinating thing. I mean, it doesn't work that way when you have a restaurant or have a factory, or you have other things in life that require both knowing what you want to do, and also you have to have the physical on that restaurant. Like, you have to have a food, or if you are going to have a construction company, you need to have wood and concrete or whatever it is. But when you're writing code, you just have to have knowledge about what you want to do. And so I think that's the most fascinating part about it, is if you have an idea, there's really nothing stopping you from putting it out into the world. And I think that's a really powerful thing to have in your life. In my area, I have an app that my company makes that helps people with mortgages, and I realize that kids may not really even know what that is, but I promise you, your parents do. It's a way that you can borrow money to buy a house, and we've been able to have ideas about how to make that better, and all we have to do is write the code, and we are able to make it better. And so that it's a great example of that coming to life, and it's really fun to find things in the world that you think should work better or are not quite right, and you have the ability to have an idea about how to make them better and then really do it. And that's what I love. So maybe that's a little bit about me and why I'm interested in this. I think I'm really struggling to come up with some advice for young coders, because I think everything that I saw here today was so good. I mean, I'm worried that I would say something you already know, but
Well,
it's just inspiring to see people trying to do things, and my main piece of advice is keep doing it. Because writing code and putting it out into the world, you're breaking down the wall between you and someone that you can help or something that you can make better, and I think it's a really special thing.
well, that is exactly what we're trying to do. Yeah, no, I love that. This idea of software scaling at no cost. It's like one of the few things that you can do as an individual or with a small team of like-minded people with a shared interest, where you can, if you actually do have an idea for making the world better, that you can put it out there and it'll just grow without any concrete, without any, you don't even really need financing. And in a lot of cases, at least initially, you just do exactly what you did. You just go down in your basement and you write the code. I mean, it's like pretty powerful. If any of our students want to ask questions, I think we could take some questions for Nate. Then we have a couple questions that we got for you students. And then I'd like Sume to talk a little bit about how the team recently has actually started working together to improve WEquil School by building an app. So the team's not just building their own apps, they're also working together to improve their own education by helping to build out the WEquil School app. So I think that's pretty cool. But let's go ahead and take questions first for Nate.
Isla, do you have a question?
When did you first find out about coding in Flutter?
Well, I found out about coding at all when I was in elementary school, but it wasn't anything like Flutter. Computers were very new then, and they were really different than what you have now. But that's sort of the first time I found out about it. But then you asked about in Flutter. The truth is, I think I found out about it only like 3 or 4 years ago, because Flutter's pretty new. And the whole idea behind Flutter is that you can have one set of code that can work as an app or a website or a desktop or something else even. And that's a pretty new idea that Google came out with. Lots of other places you have to write separate versions of the code for each one of those things. So this is a pretty new. I only really started doing Flutter about 3 years ago, and Flutter is really only about 3 or 4 years old. So that's another really remarkable thing about this project that you're doing, and everyone here, you're using a kind of code that most adults don't know, but it's really out there on the cutting edge. I mean, it's really fabulous. So anyway, yeah, I was in Flutter almost from the beginning, but the beginning wasn't that long ago. I guess maybe that's the answer.
Go, Benjamin.
Have you done any other coding languages like Python or JavaScript or Java?
Yeah, I have. I've done a lot of other programming languages. When I was in college, we started with a programming language called C++, and that is still a language that people use today, although I think a lot of other languages have taken over. And for about 20 years now, I've been writing Java code.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned JavaScript, which I also have used mostly for websites, but JavaScript recently has become a language that you can use on servers and for other things too. And so I have written some Python code like you asked about, but that's not really my specialty, but I do use it sometimes. Anyway, yeah, those are the main languages. You know, when you do this as long as I do, you know, sometimes you need to go off and do a little something in other languages too. But those are the main ones that I use. That's a good question.
Have you ever tried to start any other companies using code? And if you did, what kind of important lessons did you learn from it?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I have to say for me, this is the first company I've tried to start from scratch using code, but I had a long career before this working for a large company using code to make their business better. And but this company that I'm working on now is the first one I've started. And yeah, and then I'm sorry, I forgot the last part of your question. It was, do I have another idea about a company that I've
and what kind of important lessons did you learn from it?
Yeah. You know, I learned a lot of important lessons. One lesson to me is, you know, it can't be a little scary, but the more you can show people what you're doing and get their feedback on what they would do to make it better, then if you can listen to their feedback and put it in your app, then you're only making it better. But the thing I learned was sometimes it's hard to listen to their feedback because you spend so much time working on your code, and then there's something about it that they don't like. It can hurt your feelings. It can be hard to hear. That's not fun. But if you learn that they're only trying to help you, and if you listen very carefully to the things they say, they will tell you what you need to do to make it better. And so the trick that I've learned is to not let it hurt your feelings, but just listen to what they have to say and use it to make your project better. And if you do that, then it'll keep getting better. Maybe that's my best thing that I would say.
Okay, thank you. So if I get this right, you're saying that when people give you feedback, you want to take it and have the confidence to think about it and put it and code it into your app.
Yeah, that's right. I've made the mistake in the past of thinking that when someone tells me that something about my app is not good enough, that I want to be defensive about that, or take it personally. But I think it's much better just to use their feedback to improve your app. And in that way, you just start to think about everyone as someone on your team.
I love that. I'd say that belief is a big reason why we do demo day. It was, okay, let's help these young people to get in a habit of creating something useful for other people and get in a habit of sharing that with them and getting feedback and questions about it. So it's almost like it just becomes like breathing. The whole process of learning and collaboration and socializing ideas and learning from other people's experiences, where it's not even feedback. It's not so much feedback, it's just a conversation. It's exactly what you said. It's like having everybody is part of your team. I love that. That's exactly what we're trying to do. Yeah. We're going to have to use that.
It's a good thing to say, but I have to tell you, sometimes it's not as easy as it sounds when you work so hard on something.
Yeah.
And you put so much effort and you think you did a really good job, and then people will point out something, and a lot of the time they're totally right. And it can hurt so bad because you tried so hard. And the trick, I think, is to not let the way that feels get in the way of you using what they said to make your stuff better.
Well, it's also way more painful to keep working on something that's wrong or busted. Like, do you take your pain early, or do you take even more pain later if you don't take the feedback, or if it's correct?
A lot of people give up because it's so hard. I mean, it's really, really difficult to create something that's really useful and pleasant for people to use. It takes a lot of work and a lot of listening and a lot of changing and trying to make it better. To me, that's the real trick about how to come up with something that is really helpful to people, is to not give up.
Never give up, never surrender. I like that. All right, so I think we'll ask. I think we have a few questions that I picked out. That Sume's going to go ahead and go through, and then after that, I also want to mention that for Benjamin, he wasn't able to pull his up, so we'll actually get a video of him doing that later, and then we'll put that into the YouTube videos that we make of all of our demo days that we'll share up on WEquil.school. We'll take care of that.
So
cool. Do you want to go ahead and?
Sure. So the first one is for Benjamin. How long have you been learning Flutter?
I've been learning Flutter for probably 4 months, maybe 5, maybe a little less. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right. You were one of our first Flutterers.
Yep.
Yeah. And Anya, what gave you the idea for your restaurant app?
Well, I was watching Sume's video, like she mentioned, her basics video. So I kind of followed along with that, but I didn't really want to use the foods that she was using. So I kind of made it a little different by using different foods.
Cool. So there's actually a question for Sume, so I guess I'll ask you.
Sure.
How can my son join your group? And I can actually help field this too. So WEquil School is accepting applications, but only for new students that are already good friends with a student at WEquil School. So we don't charge any money. We're a small team, but we also are, because it's so small. Part of what I like about it is like that it's small and everybody really knows each other, right? That's part of what I think helps the magic happen. So if you know somebody at WEquil School, then yeah, sure, go ahead and submit an application. we're happy to have a new student as long as we already have that connection established. Also, we're building out the WEquil School app. So we're trying to take the same project-based, self-directed, learning process and scale that. And so for those that are interested in that, we're happy to share more details as those come out. We also have a lot of projects and things and resources on the Code Academy section of WEquil School. So if you want to see all these Flutter videos that Sume's been putting up, and you want to see other projects that students have done, you can check that out. But maybe this would be a good time for you to just talk a little bit about the WEquil School app, and then we could just go ahead and close this out. What do you think?
Sure. Should I also talk about how the coding session is also working on it?
Yeah, well, that's what I think is so cool.
Yeah.
You got like a bunch of kids that are building code in Flutter that Nate was just saying is like one of the forefront technologies available. And so these kids are all like, hey, let's improve our education by making this virtual school better. And so it's like they just recently started doing that. So yeah, go ahead.
So we are also building an app alongside our virtual school to try to scale our self-directed, project-based approach to education and to scale that in an app. And so that's what we've been working on. And one of the things that I think is just super cool is that all the kids in the coding session, they're logging in to the app, and they're just like, well, this should be better. I'm like, this was super annoying in the app, and then they just go in and then they fix it, and it's been really cool. They're just like, this is annoying. This should be better. Like the app should have this. Like recently, Benjamin was like, we don't have a toggle show password when you're logging in. You can't see your password, and then he just went in and he built it because that was annoying him. And so it's been
so great.
Yeah.
Nate, tell me if you know of any other app startup in the world where the users are actually the ones going in there and making it better. I mean, you basically cut out, there's like all this communication issue, and of course they're going to throw out every idea in the world, but instead the users are just like, we should do that, and then they just build it. Oh man, we do have a few people that we are paying to help build, and so they're doing the tough, heavy lifting stuff. Anya has like an idea a minute, for a lot of this, so it's been great.
Yeah. And also one of the things that's really cool is they'll just have ideas and then they'll just write it down in this shared Trello page we have, and then other people will be like, oh, that's really cool. I want to try to take a stab at that. And so it's like, it's just a bunch of ideas, and then people like, oh, well, I'm just gonna try working on this, and if they're having trouble, then they can maybe pass it off to somebody else, and it's been really cool.
Yeah. Well, and that's the way the real world works, by the way. Young folks, like, you're on a team and you have like this specs list of all the things that you're trying to build, and they're all going in there and managing that and working on it together. So that kind of real world experience, basically just trying to take young people and put them in a situation where they're preparing for the real world by doing real world. So anyway, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
Sure.
Nate, thank you very much for joining. We had one more question for Isla. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Isla, what do you want to build next?
Well, I think there was one more activity that I have that I forgot to add before the demo day that I might add. I'm also thinking to maybe, I don't really know. I'm still kind of brainstorming or just thinking up ideas of things that annoy me of the app and just fixing those little tiny things. But I don't really know yet.
Well, you can always take your ideas and just throw them up on the WEquil School Slack group. That's what I've been doing. That's what I'm doing with logos and stuff too. You just have ideas and then you can throw them out there, socialize it. It was kind of like what Nate was saying about how you just help find a way to make everybody on your team You don't have to. People like sharing their thoughts on your ideas. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. You guys are just doing such incredible things with this. I'm just like Nate. When I first saw Benjamin joining too, like that was what tipped us off to realizing that this is something that we could really do. Was they started teaching Benjamin first, and he was waking up at 5 a.m. in California to log in on his vacation to keep learning Flutter with Sume and Isla. And he did that for like a whole week, even though his time zone was off. That's why it was so early. And so at that point, we're like, well, we just got to open this up. It's possible. And so that's been really incredible to watch. So I'm excited about doing this again, Nate. I mean, we could do this again in a month if you want. But let's keep doing this. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody.
I'm in. Let's do it. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Thank
Bye.
you, everyone. Bye.